Go. Yes, it's another episode of Brown Bagging It, and welcome to a great episode. We have a special guest today, and I'll give you a sneak peek. KevinMKraft. He's an author, he's a filmmaker, and frankly, he's a lot of fun. So, before we get to him, though, I of course have to introduce my co-hosts. Hey guys, how are you doing today?
Fantastic. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. I'm looking forward to today's show. I'm very excited about this guest.
Kevin's
Absolutely.
He's he's a fun, creative guy. I don't know how many years I've actually known him for now, but we met back in, well, heck, I don't even remember. That's how long ago it was.
A long time ago. You met him a long time ago.
We connected on and off over the years. I kept on following his career. I've read his books. I mean, I gotta say that he does great work, and I'm surprised he hasn't had the opportunity to do more of it. So maybe we'll see some other things coming up in the future. Christine, what are your thoughts today on our topic about creativity in written communication?
Well, yeah, there's certainly a lot of opportunity, right, in what we're doing with written communication, and looking at marketing is definitely one way to look at it. But there's so many new and exciting, I don't want to say new and exciting ways, but I just feel like people are really exploding with their ways of approaching and bringing out information in the written word.
I'm right on target with you. In fact, one of the things that I've noticed is making a rebound very quickly because it's so powerful is thank you notes. For some reason, there's a surge again with people literally mailing them because it makes such an impression. Marty, what's your thoughts on written communication?
Well, I thought you were going to ask me what's my thought on thank you notes.
Oh, that's fine too.
But yes.
Thank you.
Written communication, I think it's so important, and especially being creative in written communication. We live in a day and age where I can't be face-to-face with all of my customers or my clients or the people I need to talk to. Yeah. So I've got to be able to write something. I've got to be able to give them something in writing that they can view on their time. And because they're inundated with so much information, whether it being texts, emails, written letters, the things they see all around, I've got to be very creative in the way that I write so that my message really sticks with them.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
Christine, you were about to say something?
One thing I heard a few years back with regards to emails was being very purposeful in what you choose as your subject line. Ah. So, one, to be mindful that it may be filing, and two, just to get somebody to open it or give them enough information so that if they can't open it, they know when they need to open it.
Yeah, that's a great point.
That's a good point. Yeah.
I don't want to take too much longer without us diving in and introducing our guest. Oh, but first, Marty's reminding me it's time to check what's in the brown bag. Go ahead, Marty. You started off.
I have a feeling that Christine forgot her brown bag, but you know what was really interesting? I'm trying to lose a little weight, CJ, and I know you're going to tell me I don't need to, and I appreciate that. And because I love this show so much, I love the whole creative aspect, the creative writing aspect. I do a little music writing myself, but I can't play an instrument. So what I've been doing was I've been experimenting with building my own little diddley-bow, it's called. Okay, and so I'm doing a small version because the larger one won't fit in my bag. I just need more instruction on making this thing work. All right, thank you, CJ.
Oh man, what a fantastic hint at our guest. In fact, as you can see, Kevin's got a life-size one there. In fact, his book series, the Bottlenecker, is a part of each story. So I'm just gonna invite Kevin to just join us right now because there's no better way to dive in but to say hello, Kevin. Long time no see.
Hello. Hey, CJ. It's good to see you after so long. And Christine, Marty, it's great to meet both of you.
So,
our pleasure.
Kevin, right away I have to ask you a quick question. How do you pronounce the guy's name?
Protagonist's name is The protagonist's name is the Doboro.
Doboro. Because
Doboro.
You got it.
I have been mispronouncing it for years. I gotta say, the first book in the series was the one that caught my eye. Of course, I've had the opportunity to read all of them.
Oh, great!
But when I read the first book, you so captivated me. I had to read it to the last page. I think I read the whole thing in 2 days. That's how much it gripped me. So
That's great.
As an author, I just have to thank you.
Thank you.
In fact, I want to go over to your webpage just for a moment, because obviously you have a couple of the books on Audible now. But also, here's the latest version, I believe.
Yes.
Didn't this one just recently release?
Yeah, just recently, about a month or two ago, I think. So it's pretty new.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about the story?
Okay, I'll tell you a little bit about it, because I don't want to give too much away.
Well,
But
just
this
tease
is
us.
It's the third part of the Doboro saga. Takes place about a year after the second book.
Okay.
And Doboro, I don't want to give too much away about the second books or the early books, but he was injured in the second book, and so this is about a year after that. He's recovered from his physical injuries, but at the same time, he's been kind of second guessing himself, questioning his actions, questioning the decisions that he's made that has taken us through the first two novels. And he's not so sure about himself. He's not so sure that maybe he's not been correct about everything. And we find him actually living in the basement of a church, and he's made friends with the pastor there, who has been kind of questioning him about what's happened to him and the decisions that he's made. And so that's kind of where we find him. It's kind of in this uncertain place, which in Doboro's case, it's kind of a place of vulnerability.
Yeah.
So we find him. And what happens is that things start to come around full circle. Characters from the first book and the second book start to show up in the third book, in a whole new story that introduces new threats and new dangers, but with also new friends and allies as well. Yeah. So I don't want to give too much about it, because I don't want to spoil it.
Well, I want to talk about one particular part, but it'll ruin book 1 and 2 if I say anything.
All right, then you know what? I'm going to say we've got to bring up what's called the elephant in the room, the thing that everyone's wondering, why all three of us are wearing black shirts and none of us have hair. Okay, is this a common thread of the show?
I'm dark red.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, dark red. Yeah.
All right. No, but seriously, Kevin, the question I got for you is, how much of yourself do you bring into your stories? How much are the characters, like which characters do you identify with? And how much of, like I said, of yourself do you bring in?
Doboro is I describe Doboro as who I would be if I went through the same things that Doboro did. So I wanted to identify with Doboro, closely. So I kind of, he's me if I were to encounter the circumstances that he does in the story. So we're pretty close together. I would dare say he's almost an extension of myself in some ways. So that's why it's so fun to write, because it's like, okay, sure. Rather than asking so much what Doboro would do in a given situation, it's like, oh, how would I react? What would I be like? And so that's been kind of fun. It's also kind of put me in touch with myself, because there are some things that the Doboro does, that even I question. It's like, but if I were in the situation, I would probably do the same thing.
Well, it is still fiction. We'll give everybody that. But
Yes,
I do know that fancy instrument, you are capable of actually playing that. And I wonder, could you take a moment and play us a little something?
I could, yeah. I could play a little bit of something.
That would be awesome.
I don't know if you can see it very well, but this is what they're talking about. This is these 3-string. I'm gonna get it in the camera. On the camera here, 3-string cigar box guitar, and it's a very simple and primitive instrument. Just a cigar box.
Yeah.
With the resonator, we got three strings instead of six. Okay, and I got some regular guitar machine heads on it to hold the strings in, of course. I don't necessarily need these. I can use some eye bolts and put them in that way. But I wanted to be able to tune it pretty easily, so I use these. But this is the thing, and you can tell it does get some sound. Okay, it is not a fretted guitar; it is a slide guitar. So I use a variety of different slides. This is one that I use. It is a glass slide.
Okay.
And you can find glass slides and metal slides. This is my glass slide. This is a prototype of a slide that I wanted to actually develop. And you notice that it has glass, but in the middle is a brass slide.
Interesting.
I get started here. Now I did that because as I was experimenting with slides, I liked some of the aspects of the glass slide, and I liked some of the aspects of the brass slide. And I thought, why don't I combine them? Because they get different sounds. So that's what I did. I glued one inside the other. And I don't know if you're familiar with slide guitar. If I can play with, I got a chair with arms. But since you don't fret, you use the slide to make your note, to produce your notes. There you go. Short demonstration.
I love it.
That's great.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun to play. It's addicting to build. Every guitar has a different sound, different personality to it. Sure. And I love these things. I started playing these, and I've hardly gone back to the 6-string since I started building these and playing these things. It's so much fun.
Wow.
And
now,
it's a sound, it's a sound that I love.
Self-taught? Are you self-taught?
Yes,
awesome.
I am.
Awesome. I just love. I now I want to really hear more of yours because I just really enjoyed what you just played. Now,
I'm actually working on a CD that I've been releasing forever, trying to build up and with some original songs on it. Actually, there's songs that are inspired by Doboro called "Songs from the Bottleneck," and it's got a lot of slide guitar and stuff in it and orchestration. So that'll be released some year. I'm not sure when. So, but that's that.
Oh man, thanks for sharing that.
I think that's my third guitar that I built, and it remains my favorite out of all the ones that I've built. So
well,
nice.
Your first book inspired me, especially with that, instrument. So I designed a cigar box violin.
Good, great.
And I wrote a film. I haven't shot it yet, but I wrote a film based on that, just because of the inspiration from your book series.
Oh, that's fantastic! Oh, I'd love to see that.
Incredible. Yes.
Yeah. Hopefully, I'll get to do it someday.
There you go. Right.
I have every confidence in you.
Kevin, before we continue on, we want to just take a little break to give a moment of humor to the folks watching. Here we go.
I had been driving all night long, trying to get home from Kansas City. It was already early in the morning. The sun was just starting to come up, and I was just too tired. So I figured I'd pull over in this park, get a couple of hours worth of sleep, and then finish my ride. But just as I got comfortable in the car, rap, rap, rap on the window. Who is it? Who is it? It was a jogger. And he goes, "Excuse me, buddy, do you know what time it is?" And I go, "It's like 6 a.m. He said, "Thanks." And he ran off. Laid back in that seat, shut my eyes, just starting to doze off, and rap, rap, rap. Another jogger. What? And he goes, "Excuse me, buddy, what time is it?" And I go, "Oh my God, it's about 6:15 in the morning." And he goes, "Thanks." And he took off. I didn't think I was ever going to get to sleep. I dozed off with my head back on the seat like that, and rap, rap, rap. Again, a third jogger. "Excuse me, friend, do you have the time?" And I was like, "Oh, it's about 6:30 in the morning." So I said, I know what I'll do. I grabbed a sheet of paper. I wrote a little note. Not the most creative writing I've ever done. All it said was, I do not know what time it is. I taped it on the window, and I got nice and comfortable, all set to fall asleep. Just as I dozed off, rap, 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 a fourth jogger, and he goes, excuse me, friend, it's 6:45. I'm glad I could help. And he took off.
Crazy stuff there. Kevin, we want to dive back into our interview with you, and I'm going to let Christine ask you the first question.
Oh, thank you. Well, Kevin, I know that you also, first let me ask you, are you a journaler? How often do you write? Do you write daily in some sort of journal or something?
I don't write daily. I write semi-daily. sometimes I'll write consecutive days, and then sometimes I'll go a week before I write something else, and then I may do a backup or something, and fill in the journal where where I missed. I haven't gotten in the habit where I actually journal daily yet, but I do journal.
So it sounds like you start writing when you're inspired.
Right.
Is that right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And for when are you most in your creative flow? Have you noticed a pattern that's the best time for you to be in your most creative writing state?
No real patterns per se. It's inspired, meaning that some certain things will inspire me, and then I'll be in a rush where I'll just start writing and everything. I've tried to sustain that kind of because I want to be able to write at any time, and I've gotten better at being able just to sit down and say, okay, I'm going to write today. But I am very much an inspired writer, in that something sparks my creativity, and then I just start writing and writing and writing and writing. Fortunately, I've been writing a lot because in filmmaking and everything, I'm working on scripts, and with my website, I'm working on content there, and so it's keeping the writing well open for me, where I'm writing pretty constantly, so.
And you're writing though, so you're writing scripts, you're writing books, you're writing music. Mm-hmm. How difficult is that to flip between those? Is there a challenge for those, or is one area more easy than the other areas for you?
It's difficult to switch between screenplay writing and fiction or novel writing, because the two approaches from a psychological point of view are totally different. That's something I learned early on. So if I'm working on a novel, for example, it's difficult, if not impossible, for me to switch to a script, and while I'm writing the novel. Disciplines are totally different. Music, I can write anytime. I can write music, whatever I'm doing. So that's probably pretty accurate. I'm wondering if now, since I am doing so many things at once, if it'd be easier for me to switch between novels and screenplays, but I haven't really tested that yet to know whether it's true or not.
Well, you're definitely right. It's two totally different mindsets. In fact, sometimes novels are in past tense, sometimes they're in present tense, but screenplays are always in present tense, and almost written like a series of camera shots more than anything else. But the one thing that is interesting, in fact, Marty's comment that popped up on the screen a moment ago, do you start with an end in mind, or do you build a character and see where they head?
I prefer to start with a character and see where they head. I like creating the character. Like a lot of, for instance, Doboro is a good example. He's a man of faith. A family man, a well-meaning man. So I draw him up, and I'm like, okay, let me put him in a situation and just see how he reacts. And then that's the story. I don't often start with a beginning, a middle, and an end. Although sometimes I know exactly where the story's going from the beginning, but very often I'll create a character, and then I'll just plug them into my head and in my keyboard, and I'll just start writing. And then their responses and their behavior, that's what the story is. Sure. And that's why when people tell me that I love the message and the story. How do you come up with the message first? And I say, you shouldn't start with the message first at all. The message will come with the circumstances and the responses of the character that you create. And if you glean the message from that, then wonderful. But I'm just showing you, just putting them through their ringer, as it were, and letting you see how they react, to a certain situation. So,
are you ever surprised where the story goes?
Yes. And this is people probably think I'm crazy, but when I write very much like I'm watching a movie in my head. It's like a slow playing movie as I'm writing it, and I'm visualizing everything that happens. And there'll be every once in a while something will happen in a story that'll catch me by surprise, and I'm writing it, and I'm like, Doboro does this, like, oh, I can't believe he did that. Literally, it'll catch me by surprise, and I'm like, I'm writing the thing, for crying out loud. And so but that's what makes writing so fun for me, is that I can step back somehow objectively enough where I'm caught by surprise by things that happen, and I don't know what's going to happen next. And I got to come back to the typewriter. I got to come back to the computer and find out, what are they going to do next? So it's like I have two brains, and one's got the story in mind, and the other one's writing it in real time and can seeing what's happening. But it's a strange way to write, but that's how I do it.
Yeah, it's kind of fun when you're building a character to see how you can explore the character through their mind's eyes, so to speak. One of the things I'm wondering about, most people I talk to that are writers find that the initial first draft, or what some people have deemed as the vomit draft, most people just get everything out of their head as fast as they can. Is that a process that you use and focus then later on all the rewrites later, or is there something else that you do?
I try to do that because I think it's important to get the story out. Don't worry so much about typos and mistakes or fixing anything. Wait till later. That's the advice I give other people. It's hard for me because I'm at once a perfectionist, and on another level, I'm conscious of my own mistakes, and I hate to see them even as I make them. And so I can't always resist the temptation to go on. I have to go back and correct that typo or correct that. So, but it's I try to write everything down in a passionate rush, and then go back later on and fix mistakes, which I end up doing anyway, because you never get the first draft right and everything, and you always find mistakes that you didn't realize you made anyway. So I don't know why I don't just discipline myself to just get through it, and then go back. But I try.
That's all we can ask.
Marty, this interview is going by too fast, because here we are with four of us on the screen. I have so much more to ask.
Exactly.
Feel free.
Go ahead, Christine. Ask another question if you'd like.
Sure. Well, Kevin, I was hearing that you are at the computer screen when you're writing, and I was two questions came to my mind. One is if you rely on anything like Grammarly or anything like that, and then the second was just like creating that. Have you found in the physical space, in the way that you're writing, if there's anything that you do that you might pass on to other people as good ways to get into the flow of their own writing?
I definitely think having a place where you're comfortable writing is important. It's got to be quiet, relatively free of distraction, so you can just get into that place of writing. I write best, and also time is important too. For instance, I write best overnights, because that's when I work, and my work allows me to sit and write a lot. So I write overnights, so that's the time that I write best. The place that I write has to be very comfortable and quiet. I can write at work because it's quiet where I work. And here, I usually write right at this desk a lot of times, because it's comfortable and quiet, especially when nobody else is awake. So that's important. Grammar and stuff comes pretty easily to me. I've always loved language, and English and grammar were my best subjects in school. And so I don't have a lot of problem with that. Sometimes I'll be surprised at the mistakes that I do make, and I'm surprised even more at some of the rules that have changed. When it comes to grammar and that kind of stuff since I was a kid. Yeah, I think it's good. I mean, I think you definitely need to know those things. You definitely need to employ those things. These things can be learned, you know, whenever you want to. I read things like style books and dictionaries and stuff, you know, some thesauruses, you know, to kind of load myself up with a lot of that information that I put onto the page. So you know, that's how I keep myself sharp with that.
Marty, you have a last question?
Yeah, I've got one quick question. So, Kevin, you do a lot of different writing. You know, you've got stories, you're doing these books, you write music. If you could only do one, what would it be?
Oh, that's an unfair question. Unfair question.
Yes, of course it
Wow.
is.
Let's see. If I could do one thing, wow, that is tough. I would have to say probably, this may change tomorrow, but I'd have to
Yeah,
say
of course.
probably music. Probably
Okay,
music.
cool.
That's been with me the longest. You know, I was singing and writing. I was singing and stuff before I even started writing. So that's been with me the longest. That's probably would be the ultimate. If I had to choose, that'd probably be the what I would do is write music.
That's cool. You know, a
Very
lot of
nice.
times we're in a position where, in this day and age at least, you have to wear multiple hats.
Yeah.
Right.
For instance, right now I have to be able to think technically and host at the same time, which doesn't always work out, folks. uh, but
Oh, I don't know what you mean.
but one of the things we like doing, Kevin, with our guests is we have a youth segment, and Marty did an interview. We'll have him introduce it in just a moment, but we want you to stick around, watch this youth segment, because we want to talk about it and get your viewpoint on this youth and how they're becoming a strong leader. Marty, you want to do a quick intro?
Definitely. All right. So this next young lady, her name is Elena, and it seems like it's another one of these girls that I got to meet because she did something specific, a thing that she's calling the Kindness Project. And from there, you start learning more and more, and you can just see that she's found this inner joy within herself, and it's got to come out in every single thing she touches. And so you'll learn more about her in this interview. Uh, Hi, everyone. I want to introduce you to my new friend, Elena. And rather than me listing all of her accomplishments, let's hear it from her directly. Elena, tell us a little bit about what you call the Kindness Project.
So the Kindness Project is a t-shirt business that I got started up in some brainstorming of ideas with my mom and one of my close friends. And I make different t-shirts that have kindness quotes like spread kindness
That is
or
awesome.
like spread kindness like confetti. And part of the proceeds of each shirt gets donated to a company called Stomp Out Bullying, which is a leading national nonprofit dedicated to changing bullying matters at schools and is for anti-bullying. And I think it's such a good thing to spread kindness and to be nicer to one another.
How can somebody get one of your shirts?
So I have an Instagram account called The Friends in Fashion, shared with one of my friends. And if someone wanted to reach out and get a shirt, they could DM me on Instagram, or on the Instagram page, there's an email they could always email me at. For more
Excellent.
than we're gonna make them a shirt.
All right. I love it. I love it. I love kindness. I love happiness. So I just absolutely, I'm going to end up buying a shirt from you. Okay. But enough about that. I want to know more about you. So this is a cool project. I'm so proud of you for this, but there's so much more to you than that. So before you got into this, you were into the theater, or you still are in the theater, correct?
Yeah,
Tell me a little bit. How long have you been in the theater?
I've been doing theater since I've been in first grade.
Wow. So quite a few years. All right.
Yeah. One of my first shows was Annie, and played Kate. I was so excited. I
That's
was really little. But some of my favorite shows are Drowsy Chaperone I did in sixth grade, which that was my second time being a student choreographer too. I got to do both, which was so exciting.
so tell me a little bit more about dance.
So I've been dancing since I was 2.5, and
Okay.
through dance, it's helped me. Like growing up doing dance is how it got me to be a student choreographer, and I've been doing student choreography since I was in sixth grade. But dance is what really got me to loving choreography just as much.
Yeah, it's one thing to be good at something, but it's another thing to teach other people, right?
Yes,
And so do you,
definitely.
yeah, yeah. So do you get this passion? What do you feel at, like, what do you get out of teaching people, showing them how to dance?
Seeing people have a love for what they're learning and seeing people have growth through what they're learning is so cool to me. And I love to watch people get excited when they learn something new or get excited when they're learning a new dance. I think it's so, so cool.
That's awesome. So I can see that you are really pumped up about this. You love life. You love all the things you're doing. Do you have any cool stories or something that just made you feel really good, whether it be in the theater or in dance, something like that?
Yeah, walking backstage or backstage before a competition at dance, just for a theater, for example, of backstage hearing kids mumbling about, oh my gosh, I really like that dance we learned, and you were the one choreographing the dance is it's the best experience feeling that. And before a dance competition, hearing the little ones talking about, oh my gosh, that dance was so cool. They must really love dance. It makes you have a bigger passion for what you're already doing.
That is incredible. Absolutely incredible. So what's in the future for Elena?
I would really hope to be uh, teaching dance, which I've already started
Okay.
already, which is so cool. I would love to direct theater someday or be a high school teacher. I think would also be super fun.
Very cool. So you just said you teach dance. So this is something you just started, right?
So I teach 7 to 10-year-olds in a musical theater class.
Very nice. That is awesome. What should they be doing now to prepare for their future?
Just to keep working at whatever you're doing because I recently just recently starting teaching at Academy of Performing Arts like Zurich. They have such a good atmosphere there with the kids and how to teach them to make goals, to work towards their goals, to be nice to one another. I would just tell them if you're ever frustrated, just keep working at what you're doing
Okay.
because once you reach your goal, like it feels great.
Excellent. Excellent. I always wish that these little interviews could be a lot longer because you probably have so much more you could tell us. Before I say goodbye to you, tell us one more time, how can we get the t-shirts?
Oh, the t-shirts. If you go to my Instagram page of the Friends in Fashion, you can
Friends in
either
Fashion,
DM me on
okay.
there or you can email. You can email to thefriendsinfashion@gmail.com.
Awesome. Awesome. Elena, on behalf of the entire Brown Bag and a team, thank you so much for being part of this. I cannot wait to see your name in those Broadway lights. Okay?
Wow. Yay.
Another young lady, I don't think she can stop smiling if she tried. Okay? She's so giddy and happy with life, and she's just willing to help everyone she can. So, yeah, this is another girl who's definitely going to go places.
So, Kevin, what's your take on what you just watched?
I loved her passion. I work with kids a lot, not just at my job, but I've given, for instance, creative writing programs at the local library and stuff, and I always love to see young people passionate about something, that's passionate about their art, whatever it is. And that's what thrilled me. You can just see it on her face, her joy for what she does. It just comes right on through, and she's very enthusiastic. But I love what she said. I love the fact that she wants to pass what her passion is. She wants to pass that on to others, and that's great in this selfish society that we live in. It's nice to see a young person that wants to do that. Longs to do that. So I love what I heard. I'm excited for her. I wish her great success.
Yeah, and Christine just put up the reminder as far as DMing her on Instagram at the Friends in Fashion. So there's a little plug for her again. Hey, Kevin.
I'll tell you one other thing, CJ, just to tell you, it was another one of these interviews that as I'm talking to her, I'm laughing, we're smiling together, and at a point in my head I said, oh, I don't have enough here. This is too short of an interview, right? And then when I looked at it, I had over 20 minutes of us talking, and it seemed like it was like 3 minutes. So
time flies.
That joy, that happiness makes time go fast.
Yeah,
it really does. It really does.
So Kevin, we have a bunch of youth leaders that watch this show, especially for the youth segment, and this is a great time after having talked to you a little bit about your creative writing and communication, can you leave them with a thought or a comment that will inspire them for how they can improve upon their communication through writing?
Sure. First off, when it comes to working with kids, you have to care about them. I know that seems like an obvious thing, but some people, if it's a job, they can work with kids, but the kids know whether or not you really care about them or not. They know. You can put on an act, but they can tell. Yeah. They're very intuitive that way. So I think first off is to make sure that you care about the kids that you're working with in whatever capacity you're working with them. As far as the written word goes, I find a lot of kids these days. I'll find one of two things: either kids who really don't care about writing because the only writing they've done has been compulsory, or kids who want to get into writing. They love to read, they want to write, but don't really know how to go about doing it successfully. Mm-hmm. So I think identifying those kids that want to do it successfully is important, and then letting them, rather than dictating to them how they should do something, look at what they're doing, how they're doing it, and say, hey, that's great, and then find out ways, with them, if they have an inclination to do so, to how to improve what they're writing or how to grow what they're writing. Especially if they're writing for somebody else, they want to write books or something like that, they're going to need that kind of training. But showing them and then taking them step by step through the writing process itself on how to take what they've written and make it even better. And kids respond to that really, really well. And a lot of kids need that and want that, as I found during my experience in teaching and giving programs, is that there are kids that write that. I mean, they love it. They love to. They want to write, and they want to love writing. It's just they don't know how to do it. So they're just waiting for somebody to come alongside them and show them how to do it or how to learn how to do it. And so I think that's very important. Working with kids, just taking whatever they're passionate about or whatever they're interested in, and coming alongside them and going with them through the process of learning how to do it better. So.
Yeah, that's great. Boy, I certainly appreciate that comment. And I know you have to get going here, but I just want to let everyone know your website is alive and active. People can just go to KevinMKraft.com, which is a certainly easy way to hunt you down and learn about your books, your audibles, your music, whatever else you have. I did not notice. Do you have any of your films listed there too, or how can people watch any?
The only one that is listed there is Momo,
okay.
The inspirational thriller. There's a page for that. Everything else is at Heaven's Wheel website, which is heavenswheelproductions.com. And that's where you'll find more information about that. We try to keep that kind of separate from the author thing, and kind of give the movies kind of their own place.
Sure.
But I do make reference to them sometimes there.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you. Guys, any last second question for Kevin before we let him go?
Well, I can't wait to see the Momo thriller. Like that. The thriller part. Looking forward to that.
That's
all right.
Thanks. That's got a lot.
Kevin, I'm about to go on a nice long road trip, so I always bring an Audible book. So should I start with book one?
Yeah, start with book one. Doboro, right. Yeah, Doboro the Bottlenecker. That's the first one. So.
All right, sounds good.
Thank you. Kevin, you're welcome to stay in the green room, and if you want to connect with us after the show. Otherwise, you can drop off, and we can connect with you a little bit later. Either way, your choice. All right, thanks.
Great.
Thanks.
Hey, can I mention one thing? Can I mention one thing?
Yeah. Please.
Okay. I've started doing video and instruction videos. Tip Tuesdays is what it's called. I'm going to have the first one up today. It's taken from my program that I did at the library that I mentioned, giving aspiring novelists writing tips. So people can find that over at KevinMKraft.com, and I think they'll enjoy those.
Okay, good.
Excellent.
KevinMKraft.com has lots of answers, folks. Get over there.
There you go.
Thanks, Kevin, for being on the show today. Really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. It's good to meet you, Christine and Marty. CJ, great to see you.
Good to meet you.
Been a long
Thank
Thank
time.
you,
Bye.
Kevin.
Bye-bye. Wow. Okay, so our clock is ticking. We need to dive
Yes.
into our book review. And Christine, I believe it's episode 2 of The Artist's Way?
This is the final episode of The Artist's Way, and this is a good follow-up about creative writing.
Okay, great. Here we go.
Week 2 review of The Artist's Way by JuliaCameron, A Path to Higher Creativity. Remember last week I was talking about that in this book, which is a 12-week course, essentially, or program that you work your way through, that the path includes morning journaling, which is writing out 3 pages, and these artist dates, taking time to work on your creativity as you're reading through these chapters, and of course adhering to the creative contract, ensuring that you don't quit the program before you are done with the program. I continue to believe that this is very value added for people, not just artists, but other people that are perhaps leaders or communicators, because essentially we're all called to be creative. And this book is really a great layout of working through some of those blockers that may be getting in your way and freeing up a whole lot of unused energy. The chapters in the book, and like I said, there are 12 chapters, are organized with a title that always follows the format of recovering a sense of. So for example, chapter 1 is recovering a sense of safety, and then moves on to recovering a sense of identity, so on. Ironically, in chapter 4, which is recovering a sense of integrity, there's actually an assignment to stop reading for a week. So having the audiobook would be really good there. I would also add that as you're going through this program, I think there's 2 ways to approach it. One is, for yourself, for your own self-benefit, but it also could be useful if you consider it kind of something maybe to work better with those people that you are leading with. It might give you some more insights to what they're going through, or what their blockers might be, and things that you can do to help them be more productive and creative. I do believe that as you're working through the book too, treat it as a buffet. While you want to maintain your creative contract and continue to work through the 12-week program, I would also say take what you need and leave what you don't need. Not everything in the book is for everyone. Finally, another thing you don't really find out until the end of the book is that there is this opportunity to do this book and work through the program in groups. And at the end of the book is some guidance about how to do that, to work through the program in a group. I would also add, when I was exploring, I found things on meetups in my area where you could meet up with people that were working through the book. 25 years after the original publication, there are still people getting together and working through the program on The Artist's Way. So if that's not a statement of how valuable it is, I hope that you choose to move through the book. If you do, send me an email. I'd love to connect. I hope that it helps you find your creative spirit.
Oh, bye.
Love it.
Wow. So I have to say that I was going through The Artist's Way again, just because Christine was going through it. And one of the things, there was like an assignment where you just walk around your neighborhood, and different kinds of assignments like that. And I decided, after reading one of the sections, I decided to create what I'll call a mini memoir, where I kind of video myself kind of doing an interview segment of myself, because I'm telling the story from my history, that I could pass on to my kids or my grandkids or my great-grandkids, that type of thing. And I decided to also include a segment that I created with my granddaughter. You'll understand it. If you don't mind, I'm going to take a quick moment to share it. Here it is. One of the greatest experiences a grandparent can have comes from playing with their grandkids. I remember a day when one of my granddaughters came over to spend the day with me. Very memorable moment. It wasn't one of those babysitting assignments. It was just a play date. A day where she and I got together to play. We started out, we took a walk down to the high school where her dad graduated. I shared a bit about his high school life. And I mentioned that I had a couple of his teachers when I attended that same school. Both of my parents also walked the halls when they were students. In fact, my great aunt was in the high school's first graduating class in the 1920s. Although back then, they met in the second floor space above the bank because the school hadn't yet been built. When I shared the school's victory bell with my granddaughter, the one that rang out every time we won a football game, she was inspired to make a movie. A movie. I asked what she wanted to do, and instead of answering me, she took my hand and led me to the playground. I was amazed at how she directed me. She had clear intentions. We clearly shot out of order, so I had to trust that she knew what she was doing. She told me what shots she wanted, where I was to stand, and she rambled off these pieces of dialogue that worked. After I watched the clips, I realized that there was really only one way to cut the story together. The message was that clear, and I was amazed at how a young child could share such a complete story.
Fun. Go down the slide. Go. Be safe. I hope you learned.
I was proud of her. Every time I watched her story, my heart soared. And not because she created a good short film, although she did, but because I'm reminded about the day we were able to play. If instead of making a short film, if she had chosen us to paint together or play catch or run a boat for the lake, that day still would have been special. You see, playtime with grandkids, there's nothing more enriching for the soul.
Evelyn's a cutie.
Yeah.
What adorable.
That'll be wonderful for her to see in the future, you know, all grown up, and then to look back at her film. That'll be incredible for her.
Well, my portion I just shot last weekend, so that because of the ArtistWay thing. But her portion, she actually made that probably 5 years ago. So,
oh, wow.
So it might almost be time for her to see it.
Cool.
Anyway, guys, we need to get wrapping up here. Any last thoughts on creativity and written communication?
I would say I loved this segment completely. I think it's so important. It's obviously important to be creative in the way we write, but I just love the way that bringing a musician in here that was an author, a musician, just an overall, a good spirit who knows how to put his feelings out in writing. This was an incredible guest. So great finding him, CJ.
Yeah, Kevin, definitely one of those Renaissance guys who can do a little bit of everything. Christine, what are your thoughts?
Polyman. I think that's the new word for a Renaissance person. And Kevin is definitely that. He's taken his craft and he's moved it into all these different areas. I think on written communication, I would add a couple of thoughts. One is, if you're trying to get into, everyone has a story to write, or everyone has something to share, and that if you're trying to get into that, I believe in journaling as a really great way to get into that, even if you get into prompts. And you can go two ways. One, you can go unconstrained journaling and just say, I'm going to write whatever for 3 pages. Even if I'm going to write, I'm just writing for 3 pages and I don't know what to write for 3 pages and when are the words going to come, and just keep writing that for 3 pages, because that's clearing out all the stuff that is in the way of your story. Yeah. And then the other way is to kind of write with constraints. Sometimes when we have constraints, that's actually when it becomes more freeing. We have so much stuff around us and we're being pulled in so many different directions. It's hard to take those first few steps. And once you get going, the writing and the written communication and the creativity in it is going to flow a whole lot more.
Yeah, I like your points. When I wrote that little mini memoir thing, what I did was I decided, what is the heart of why that story was important for me to share? And what about it could work for who it is that's going to read it? Well, then, of course, with The Artist's Way, I turned it into a video. But the fact is, not only did I need to make sure I satisfied my heart as far as the passion that I needed to get out there, but I also wanted to make sure that it would at least touch somebody that watched it, so it was worth their time and efforts too. So I think written communication plays a big, huge role in everything we do. Yes. And let me just remind everybody, KevinMKraft.com is where you can go to learn more about his books, movies. I think he mentioned his music might be on that site as well. Yep. Anything else, guys?
I'm going to get back to making my cardbox guitar. All right.
Oh, perfect.
Until next week.
Cardbox versus a cigar box.
That's right. Just
all right,
carry it with me wherever I go.
We'll see you guys later. Have a great day.
Bye-bye.